This is a relay project.
Real Talk is on the road. From the National Music Center in downtown Calgary, here's Ryan Jesperson.
Welcome to day 2 of Real Talk Road Trip Calgary edition. We're coming to you from Calgary's incredible National Music Center in the heart of the action downtown, and right out of the gates, it is my distinct pleasure to have a fellow podcaster, to have a fellow political enthusiast just in awe, just his jaw on the floor after seeing such a spectacular introduction to this episode. Stephen Carter, I'm sorry, I have to interrupt our regularly scripted intro to note the dynamic body position that you just exhibited.
I'll tell you, I mean, it was good. How much do you have to pay for shit like that? Like you must make money like hand over fist.
It is hard to put a price on something like that.
It's hard to put a price on our friendship too, Ryan, and that's why we're here.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's exactly what we're doing today. By the way,
feels very tense. By the way, this friendship. Just so you know, as just observing in the corner.
We're very excited about this. I actually have a whole introduction planned, and this is a totally unprofessional way to begin this episode. The audience is accustomed to a much more smooth takeoff.
No, we've listened to your podcast before. I mean, it feels smooth, but it's got some turbulence.
It does have a bit of turbulence, which I think is why some folks are tuning in. And we want to welcome everybody that's joining us from across the province, across the country, and around the world.
Wow.
Yeah, for what promises to be an incredible discussion.
Wow.
Everybody, Carter and...
I've seen your rankings.
around
the world.
Technically, it is around the world.
Technically, yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
So you two are here, and I'm very much looking forward to chatting with you. And then, of course, you've just had a chance to, behind the scenes in the green room, and while he was doing his sound check to connect with Corb Lund, obviously his name back in the news. Nothing to do with his music right now, but with his coal petition as well. So we're going to go there. We've got a lot to discuss as we're coming to you from, Johnny, what is this? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But this is our day 6 of our Calgary Stampede experience, which is like...
I got no idea what day it is.
This is like talking to an athlete in the 3rd or 4th round of the playoffs.
Listen, we brought you something to just keep your energy up.
Is it from Friesen Brothers?
If it's
not from Friesen Brothers, I'm not eating it. Oh, what is it? Okay,
it's
maybe
to match your personality.
It's to match your. Is it a messed up smile cookie?
No, it's not. Come on.
What is this?
It's a personality match.
It's to match my personality. It's just an old-fashioned donut.
Plain.
Old-fashioned
plain.
Old-fashioned plain.
Okay.
It's just we were saying what would match Ryan's personality
to augment his wonderful personality. To bring it in there. That's what I would say. I don't know what you're going off script here.
I think we went the wrong.
Remember
I think
when
we
I
had
said this friendship seems tense.
I think
when I said that?
We have a different understanding of Ryan's personality.
So I guess we know that they've sold at least one old-fashioned plain donut in the city of Calgary.
I'm not going to lie to you. I wouldn't eat that. That came from the place just down the road.
Yeah. And also we don't eat here in the recording studios at the National Music Center. We've agreed to those basic.
That's the basic
terms. Of respect, the basic terms. They said, "Be careful with your coffees and no eating." And
is that why you put our Tim Hortons coffees into your mugs?
You just had to get the Tim Hortons mention in there? Was that it? Is this you just
Tim
being
Hortons
cheeky and
bringing
difficult?
you the Strategists since tomorrow?
Since tomorrow.
You think we're gonna get them?
I think it's gonna be you.
I've been monitoring your pitch, your courtguard with Flair Airlines, and I haven't seen any deliverables on that point yet. But I'll tell you,
they've converged to us at this point.
If you guys really do dial in, one day you'll get to do something like this. I move off the two shot. I look into this, and I just let our audience know that this episode of Real Talk Friends is presented by our friends at Hansen Distillery. And it was my distinct pleasure to join a member of Hansen's ownership group. That's Bill Eaton at a wonderful event yesterday at Calgary's beautiful True Wild Distillery. You may go, what is Jesperson doing? Carter may be confused. Jesperson's mentioning a competing distillery in an ad for what is he doing? Well, yesterday at the Calgary Stampede, or just off the grounds, distillers from across the province gathered together. That's Minister Dale Nally as well that was there. And as you can see, it was a celebration of authentic Alberta whiskey. Hansen Distillers have been in the business longer than anybody else in the Metro Edmonton region. A small craft distillery that uses local Alberta ingredients to produce some of the best whiskey in Canada. You can learn more about their story and shop Hansen online by visiting hansendistillery.com. Hansen Distillery is made right here. Okay? Just like that.
Most of the time. Like you're hammered.
I mean, what sort of an individual is going to try to talk about a product without trying the product?
No,
so,
it's true. It's good.
I mean,
Carter, if we lock in, we can do live direct-to-camera ad reads one day. That is what we can do. That's what Jespo's telling us. We lock in.
If you dream big.
We can do it, Carter.
If you dream big and start trying a little bit harder. For people that may not know,
how dare they?
First of all, how dare they? And the nerve. But yeah, it is incredible to have. You guys are one of the only podcasts that I actually listen to from start to finish. I really do mean it.
Thank you, Jespo.
Really appreciate what you do, and your onboarding of Shannon Phillips has been very entertaining. It was nice for us to have your former podcasting partner, Member of Parliament Corey Hogan, with us yesterday.
Sure.
Now the MP for Calgary Confederation, sitting in the exact chair you are, Zain.
My chair.
You know that chair right there. Yeah. So that's got to be exciting for you. Your thoughts on the Liberal government's representation here in Alberta through the Stampede? A big announcement on an ambitious new pipeline, the data center announcement. We talked to Corey about it. We talked to Energy Minister Tim Hodgson about it. How do you evaluate the splash they're making here on the prairies?
I have never seen this many Liberals at Stampede. Carter, just ought to be for half a second. It's fucking nuts.
They had to. There's so few Liberals in Calgary. They had to import them all from other places.
Well, there's one. And he imported them all. Yes.
And then they imported 40 others just to come out and make us feel loved. But I mean, at Corey's breakfast, you couldn't turn around without running into a Liberal MP.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
It's been wild. I think there's a couple of reasons why they're here. I think the wind is behind their back on the pipeline deal, of course, or they feel like that is the case. Probably also some consolidation within that caucus to make sure everyone is in agreement with that pipeline, because Carney does and has spent political capital on this thing. But secondly, I think it's a separatist question. And I'm curious how many of them leaving this week. To me, it's like they come in, interesting. But when they leave, whether that is today or sometime later this week, how many of them actually have a fundamentally more distilled, fundamentally more concrete, and fundamentally more real understanding of what's happening on the ground? Because I think Liberals showing up is one part of the equation. The other part of the equation that I've experienced over my Stampede is, and I've said this before, I still think people are sleepwalking, Jespo. Yeah. I still think people are sleepwalking. They see the recent polls on the Canada separatism question and they're like, it's cool. No one is addressing the immigration questions. Mm-hmm. They're pretty much just, except Carter, we'll get to that in a second. For all the criticism Carter gets, he's actually doing shit, right? And one of the most interesting dynamics of this, I think, was kind of validated yesterday when Doug Ford, who was one of the chief critics of Danielle Smith, shows up, makes an announcement, is asked directly about his previous comments as it relates to Danielle Smith pandering to separatists. He's like, I'm not going there. And her reputational laundromatting, going from mealy-mouthed to like quasi-separatist to now pro-Canada, this 10-day stretch could crystallize what people think about Danielle Smith coming on the back end of it. And I think she might be in a position where she just gets away with it like she has on so many things. And I'm really, really interested in that, because talking to so many people, some of them Liberal MPs, many people from out of town, they're like, yeah, cool, interesting. I think I have a bit more perspective. But no one is kind of saying, this is the political enemy. This is the reason this is happening. This is what the fix is in for. It's very interesting.
You didn't expect Ontario's Premier to come to Alberta and talk like that, though, right in front of her at the Calgary Stampede.
I expected him to, well, he's made those previous comments.
Sure, from Ontario without her in the room.
I expected him to use some of his political skill to nudge at the fact that we are in a national crisis still in Alberta, and that is still indeed the case. He had none of it, because pipeline announcements, I guess, take precedent over everything else, Carter.
That's Zain Velji and Stephen Carter joining us in our feature interview presented by Mercedes-Benz Edmonton West. Carter, over to you.
Mercedes-Benz. Oh, my goodness. I think that the problem that we have is that people have decided that the separation question is the only question that matters. And I think that these other 9 questions are separation light, right? So everybody just ignores them and pretends that it's all good. But it's Danielle Smith who put them on and is the yes side. Danielle Smith is the yes side. She may be the stay in Canada side, but she's the let's get everything that we possibly can from Canada, even those things that are unreasonable and that will hurt us in the long run. And that to me has been the real learning and takeaway from the Stampede is that the MPs that came were briefed on one question and one question only. They only knew about the one question. They didn't even know that there were 9 others. And they'll be leaving thinking, well, it's probably going to be okay because it looks like it's going to be 80-20 on the one question. And they're right. It is going to be 80-20 on the one question. We're only seeing the numbers go up for the stay in Canada side and down for the leave side. But that's not happening with those other 9 questions.
First of all, not a guarantee that it's 80-20.
I'm working on the campaign, brother. We'll be fine.
Okay.
We'll be fine.
Of course, Carter. Of course, you're working on the campaign, so we're good. We'll rely on your trusty win-loss record, which you can now publicly air for us. Please, go ahead. Go ahead.
Is this the Calgary Accountability episode? Real talk version?
Let me just bring in Mayor.
We'll have to let Corb Lund know, who's coming up later in this episode. We're going to need a few more minutes.
One of my favorite politicians, Edmonton Mayor Tim
Cartmel.
Cartmell. One of my favorite politicians, Edmonton Mayor Tim Cartmell and Brian Thiessen. Yeah, that's
Brian Thiessen.
I love both of them. I actually love one of them. Okay, here. First of all, 2 things. Number 1, I think the 80-20 thing is part of the sleepwalking. It still continues. People feel like the wind's behind their back. They don't need to do any work. Well, the Separatists are still continuing to do the work. Yeah, they may have been in a down period because it's Canada Day, Stampede. They know it's not necessarily their terrain. But as much shit as we throw at them, these guys are fundraising money. These guys are still showing up. They've got multiple groups, whereas the Federalist side, it's like Stephen, Forever Canadian, and a bunch of conservative groups. And I feel like what's happening on the Canada question, which I think is really important to recognize, is there's a bunch of people lining up to take credit for what looks like a sure thing.
Yeah.
I don't know there's a bunch of people wanting to do the work to make it a sure thing. There seems to be a bunch of people, a bunch of groups that when history writes its books can say, this group was here, this person was here, they were instrumental, they can be part of history.
Like, who are you talking about?
I think there's a few conservative groups right now, based on their lack of action, that I don't see them actually putting the money in, the time in, the mobilization work in, the air war in. I hope that they do, because some of these folks are my friends, including the Vote to Say group. I really need them to do this work, because my theory is very simple. The progressives in the broader group project that is this Canada question, our job is to mobilize. Because we have people on our side who believe in Canada, but we are self-righteous. Often we're over-intellectualize the situation, and we can find any excuse, because that's who we are, to say, I don't need to show up to this, right? Or like, fuck this shit. Or Canada's imperfect. Canada's a genocidal nation. I don't need to show up to this question. That's our job, is to make sure those people show up. I think the job of the Federalist conservatives is to do 2 things: persuade and mobilize. They're the ones that have to stop the metastasization of their people becoming separatists. And if they're not taking on their work in the group project, it's not like Stephen and I can take that on. In fact, we'd be counterproductive to that. We'd be counterproductive to that movement. And I feel like that is actually a huge risk right now from this, turning into an 80-20 slam dunk, because the mobilization effort is on the separation side. The gonna vote, regardless of what the weather is on the separation side. The enthusiasm is on the separation side. Canada has more people, but we're a flabby majority against a zealous minority, and we have seen what happens even when they come close to victory, which is that they'll just keep rinsing and repeating this again and again.
I had kind of a, what do they call these, meta moments? Is this a meta moment that I had when I was walking through Calgary? I'm not going to lie to anybody and tell them I was up for a run or a jog. I wasn't.
No, you were walking.
But I was walking.
You're a walker.
I was walking at a good clip.
Oh, yeah.
And I had my AirPods in, and I was listening to the Strategists, and I was listening to you talking about your Calgary signs, and wouldn't you look at what I came across, and here it is right here. So, our audience that's joining us on our live stream presented by California Closets, you can get a free consultation at californiaclosets.ca. We'll see these signs. For those of you that are listening on the podcast, Carter, maybe you can describe it for us.
That is a stay in Canada, no to the 9 sign with a big giant maple leaf. That is the branding that we've taken on for Alberta's Voice. We have a simple message, and the simple message is stay in Canada and say no to the 9 questions. The 9 questions are difficult to understand, they're difficult to explain, and they are written. Danielle Smith has admitted this publicly to Corb Lund, that she wrote these questions in order to pass them. She wants them to be
thumb on the scale shit. Yeah.
You know, so we have exposed that before with the Strategist podcast, where we've done different polling with different questions, and you get different answers just for the exact same topic, depending on how you phrase it.
Absolutely.
Danielle Smith has phrased these questions so that people will say yes to them. She is the yes side on these questions, and we have to stop them and say no to the 9. So that's the simple sign. It's simple messaging, and it's going to carry us all the way through to the end of this. And we really need to anchor it with the stay in Canada. Staying in Canada is the same as saying no to these 9 questions.
Got that. Ambustion is in our live chat, powered by Park Power. Get exclusive discounts on internet, electricity, and natural gas at parkpower.ca/Real Talk. Says, please thank Carter for me. By the way, the $5 in from Ambustion, buying you a cold beer. So there you go.
There you go.
Unfortunately, you're going to have to wait till you're in Edmonton. It's where we left all our beer in Edmonton, unfortunately, Carter. But Ambustion says, thank Carter for me for fighting these silly fools. He says, don't worry, I'll match a donation on the no to the 9. So that from Ambustion. Wanted to let you know there's $5 going in there.
You know, the donations have been really rolling in the last week since people really started to understand that we are being out fundraised by the Leave campaign.
Yeah. Thanks to our colleague Shannon Phillips, our podcast colleague, for kind of leading that charge on that analysis around how the Separatists are just like quietly rolling in the money and just outraising everybody.
10-1. I mean, they're basically the Jesperson podcast to the Strategist podcast.
Wow.
But that's how much money they're raising.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
I was going to go serious for a second, but I like what you did there. I'll remain in that
just
pocket.
An opportunity for another swipe. He took it. and this is how you win mayoral campaigns like Carter does.
Yeah. A perfect track record from what I understand. We're so glad you're running this campaign. For all the shit Carter takes, by the way, let me praise the guy. He is one of the most prominent political strategists who still fucking does the work.
Yeah.
Right? And regardless of the W's and the L's, right? Like, you're in the trenches right now. This is not sexy work, right? This is what I'm trying to say, is that the Canada question seems sexy to people.
Yeah.
Seems appealing, right? Why not start a group, put a couple of bucks behind it, and if it succeeds, I was part of the victory of Canada. Like, who would 80% of people? Like, that is something to write home about. That is a meal ticket. The rest of these questions are not a meal ticket, Ryan. They're a moral compulsion.
Absolutely.
And there's a very few people in this province, Avnish Nanda leading our Alberta Advantage, Stephen Carter, and others that I'll certainly create room for if I don't have their names top of mind, that are saying these questions are real fucking dogfights because of what Carter said, because of the way they're phrased, because there's government money put into them, because it's a David Goliath versus Goliath situation. But these are also questions that may have as noxious outcomes, long tail and even short term, in our province around immigrants, around belonging, around community, and even around where people find a sense of purpose if they're coming to this country.
Totally.
To show up here and be told in a very mealy-mouthed, persuasive way that you may not belong as immigrants in this country, or you're a net drain, or you and your family and people that look like you, sound like you, speak like you, are a result of why we are struggling as a province. The most abundant, resource-rich province in the entire country does something to someone's psyche, does something to someone's belonging, and the long-tail impacts of that could be very significant. So I think right now it's like we need more people to be, of course, clued in on the Canada question, but we also need people to pay attention to what Carter's doing and the work that him and other organizations are doing.
I feel like, and I'm not trying to be funny or cute, even though you're here with me, Carter. I'm actually making a serious comment here now, but we've been doing the Stampede circuit. A big reason why Real Talk is here is the stuff that's not in front of the cameras, is the networking and the connecting and the conversations and planting seeds. I don't have to explain that to you guys. And I have noticed, and I've participated in many conversations from out-of-province visitors about this, and the general consensus seems to be, what's, in particular, it seems people from Ontario that are here for the week or the weekend, so what's going to happen? This isn't going to actually happen, right? This isn't going to happen. This is crazy. This is obviously not going to happen, right? But one thing I've noticed, Zain, and I appreciate your passion, and I appreciate you articulating the point here on the show, is that really nobody is talking about the other 9 questions. And I know it's an important part of your messaging with no to the 9, but people are only talking about, is Alberta going to separate or not?
Totally.
And no one's talking about the other questions.
Well, let's phrase it another way. Is Alberta going to separate from its culture of being welcoming, inclusive? That is another, the 9 questions to me are that question. This is why I'm not to speak for you, but I agree with Carter when he says they're separatist-like questions, because they're asking people to say, do you want to separate this province from this country, and do you want to separate an old stock versus new stock type of Albertan? That, to me, is the thesis of the other 9 questions, which is there's a type of Albertan that belongs, and there's another type of Albertan that we kind of have the opportunity to scapegoat right now. And I think too many people, and Carter and I might be a problem in this, I'm sorry if this is too meta in a sense, are being political pundits on this versus political organizers on this. Too many people are in the Stampede circuit talking about what this means, could this happen, how will people vote, versus recognizing nothing is preordained. Right? Like, we have to activate. We have to do the work in order to generate an outcome. We can stop being pundits about it and being like, where's the herd going? Versus saying, what can I do to kind of change the force of nature? And when you have a bunch of people in our politics starting to be pundits and pundits exclusively, even in their voting pattern, they stop wondering about and they stop engaging in their own organizing, I'd say, responsibility at this case.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a conversation unfolding, obviously, on our live chat powered by Park Power. I'm not surprised. But Shy Courage says Smith trying to change the medical questions where you're talking about healthcare coverage, in particular for temporary workers, says this just shows no respect for the disabled. Nia says separatism is represented at Stampede. She says, look at the photos from Devin Dreeshen's event. Says with the wall of Alberta flags. That's an interesting, and that's not the only one. So there's the Devin Dreeshen event, and we can debate this and discuss this. I'm curious to know how you feel about it. I mean, hey, listen, don't roll your eyes, but like, it is in Alberta. He's an Alberta cabinet minister. He's welcoming, I think he had 4 or 5 premiers at his party, including Premier Ford. An Alberta flag is not like necessarily out of line. Let me just finish and then you can argue, because I don't quite know how I feel about this, and I've been sort of making an impassioned plea to this audience to like take back the Alberta flag, fly the Alberta flag and the Canadian flag side by side. But when you see Alberta's Energy Minister Brian Jean marching with an Alberta flag on Canada Day in the Canada Day parade, then it's like, I don't know. I see the Dreeshen thing and the Brian Jean thing almost as separate stories. I don't know if you guys do.
Listen, you don't have to look at the top of this, of the pile. You don't have to look at the top and say, okay, are Brian Jean and Devin Dreeshen separatists? You don't have to look at the top and say, it's difficult. They're coding certain language for that. They're certainly coding their language. Devin Dreeshen won't answer the question. Which side will you vote on for separation? Cyril Turton is the only one that I've seen so far in cabinet that's actually put out a statement about staying in Canada.
Yeah, and he's made it from the stage too. Like, he spoke on Canada Day, where Jespo, you and I ran into each other, and Cyril was speaking there.
Yeah,
and for all the criticisms I have about the UCP, I try to reserve as many as I can for my favorite UCP member, Cyril, who is in the wrong party and needs to come over.
And he needs to leave. He needs to leave.
He does.
But we don't need to look at the top. Let's look at the bottom.
Yeah.
55 to 60% of UCP members want to separate. What does it look like on their
Absolutely
boards?
True.
Most of their boards want to separate. Most of their organizational structure, most of their organizers are wanting to separate. This is a separatist party that is calling itself a pro-Canada party, but they're not. They want to separate. They believe they'll be better off. They are the problem. And so when Devin Dreeshen throws out those Alberta signs, it doesn't matter what Devin Dreeshen knows. It says Devin Dreeshen knows what he's saying to his members, what he's saying to his supporters. He's saying, you're right. I'm with you.
Well,
I'm doing the coded language.
And this is where the Federalist Conservatives come in. Where are you guys?
Where are you?
Like, Carter and I can't do that work. We can't show up to Devin Dreeshen and persuade him. And I think those Federalist Conservatives are relying way too much on one guy, Stephen Harper. Whenever Harper shows up, he will turn the tide and he will stop this metastasization. And I've spent years of my political life campaigning against Jason Kenney's and Stephen Harper's, but in this very acute moment of our political history, I will cheer them on aggressively because we need them to stop this metastasization of their people, of people that they know in their orbit, in their network, of their same ideology, value system, moral principles, and say this is not the right way to do things.
These pragmatic, middle-of-the-road conservatives, these pro-Canada conservatives that are going to hear this interview and want to do something about it, Carter, what can they do? What's the call to action? What's the website? Where can they make a donation? What do they need to do?
I mean, they should. They're absolutely welcome in Alberta's voice, but I think it's what is Monty?
Monty Solberg, Michael Solberg, Jason Kenney. Vote to Stay, I believe.
Vote to Stay is where they actually should go, and they should give money to Monty Solberg's group. VoteToStay.ca, I believe it is.
That's it.
Is the organization that should be targeting right wing, center right voters.
Yeah.
They can speak their language. They understand the words that are being used and twisted and turned into misinformation. They can undo all of that. Monty Solberg, Jason Kenney have that capability. And when Stephen Harper steps up, Stephen Harper has it as well. They have to do it. Our friend Ken Bosenkool is doing
policy,
and Jen Gerson are doing language and speaking, writing op-eds and making sure the facts are out there. But we need the money to go to these guys to come to Alberta's Voice or to go to Vote to Stay. In order to actually make real impact.
Yeah, I thought that Real Talkers were joking. I should have known better. It's the most dialed in and engaged talk audience in the country.
Wow. I thought another sideswipe.
Excuse me, that was a statement, not a question.
Okay. Seemed debatable, but okay.
Thomas Lukazik has Forever Canadian beer out. Were you aware of this? I thought people were joking. Check this out, Johnny. I'm sharing my screen. This is on Thomas's Facebook page. So this appears to be, is it Red Heart? Canadian Pale, and if you check it out, there it is, Forever Canadian beer. Wow. It's a serious movement when you got your own beers.
I'm going to lose my mind.
Hey, how about you pull out your hair instead?
I don't understand. I do not understand how he's not running a campaign according to Elections Alberta. Right now, Elections Alberta is giving him a free pass, but he's hurting us. Right?
No, disagree. He's not hurting us.
He's hurting us.
Explain why. Why is he hurting?
All I get
that's an
every
insane
day,
take. To say Thomas Lukazik.
Thomas Lukazik is hurting us because he's not following the rules. The rules matter. People want to be part of a rule-based organization, and he's hurting us because he's not.
How is this breaking the rules for people that don't understand?
He's not. He's registered now as a TPA. He's registered
third-party advertiser.
Yeah, he's raised no money, and he spent no money. So how does he have a beer? How does he have an RV? How does he have 3 campaign offices? How does he have thousands of signs across the province promoting unity and saying stay in Canada? He is as much the Stay in Canada campaign as we are, if not more, the most stay in Canada, and he's not following the rules, and he's going to get bit. He's going to get bit. I can see it happening. You can see it happening, Zain. He will get bit in the ass.
What are we doing here? What are we doing here? Are we like being political pundits, as I've just said about everything?
I'm out there fucking doing the work.
With the limited.
I'm out there fucking doing the work, and I'm watching someone else.
Why would you go down this path, though?
Because it matters.
He's wanting to, be in line with Elections Alberta. He's indicated that many times. He probably has an exclusion for some of the work because there is registrable and unregistrable expenses.
It's not Thomas Lukazik's fault.
Yeah.
How about this?
I agree with that.
It's not Thomas Lukazik's fault.
Let's stop blaming someone in our group project who we need to succeed. We need Thomas Lukazik.
He needs to be the brightest of lights, and he's chosen to not even be a campaign.
Look, even if that is not technically what Elections Alberta views what he's doing, the work that he's doing is productive. You have seen every Forever Canadian lawn sign event. You've seen the amount of people that show up.
Then Elections Alberta needs to make a decision.
Leave it to them. Let Thomas Lukazik.
But we can't leave it to them because then they get Corb Lund.
No, I guess what I'm trying to say.
Corb Lund. This is the same situation.
It's not a zero-sum game, and
it is a zero-sum game.
Sorry, Jespo. But you don't need to pull
wins or loses.
Oh my God! Of course it is on that front. But someone on our team, you do not need to take down a peg just because.
Then it's Elections Alberta.
Great, perfect, done, fine.
It strikes me as maybe you're just. I mean, I don't know that Carter's looking to take him down a peg. I think you're just concerned that, like, for me, here's a great analogy. Remember back in the day, was it Marty McSorley that got busted with the stick where the curve was too?
Yeah.
It's like you're watching a teammate play with a blade that's too curved, and you're maybe concerned that it'll be like Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Final when the other team calls for the measurement and your team has to kill the penalty. Like, is that kind of the idea?
This juiced bat theory this is like
this
Sammy
is a
Sosa?
juiced bat. This is exactly the same situation, and I'm really glad you used a sports metaphor because our audience loves sports metaphors, and that sports metaphor is exactly it. When someone is on your team and they are in the potential of hurting the entire cause because they're not necessarily playing by the rules. It doesn't matter who the umpire is. It doesn't matter who the referee is. All it matters is these are the stated rules, and you're breaking them, and it's ultimately going to come and kick us in the ass.
So that part I agree with, that Elections Alberta needs to be extremely consistent, and they don't seem to be. They don't seem to be.
They fucked Corb Lund. They're ignoring Thomas.
We haven't even gotten to that.
They're the number of things that are happening with Elections Alberta is staggering, and they are dropping the ball at every opportunity.
That all being said, Carter, your lifelong political philosophy is find the rules, use them to your advantage. What I think is what's interesting about the Lukaszuk campaign, despite them not being registered or reporting their finances, is what is he doing that can be replicated by other groups? It's less about...
You have talked about this on the pod before.
I have.
I don't understand how we replicate that which has already been created. I don't know that it can be replicated. He is doing... he's doing God's work.
I'm not saying
he's doing God's work. He's just putting himself in a position where I think we're going to get... God's going to get kicked in the nuts.
That's the pull quote for the episode.
No kidding.
Right there. God's going to get kicked in the nuts.
That's good from our fellow our atheist.
We're hanging out with Strategist co-host Zain, Velji, Stephen Carter in our feature interview presented by Mercedes-Benz Edmonton West. Despite that sponsorship, and I want to say to our friends in Calgary, if you are looking to buy a Mercedes, make the trip up to Mercedes-Benz Edmonton West.
How are we the feature interview when you got Corb Lund next?
Well,
what do you call him? What do you call him?
Exclusive.
You're both feature interviews. And I'm going to double up on the product mention or on the partnership mention.
Okay.
And then our friends at Mercedes-Benz Edmonton West are going to be thrilled.
They're going to give you more money.
Well, they probably won't, but as long as they're happy. Alberta Girl says, listen, the 9 questions that Carter cited, the 9 is a preview of the Alberta that Premier Smith wants to make. Real Talkers, by the way, Danielle Smith joining us on Friday, July 10th, right here from the National Music Center. Alberta Girl says, and some people will vote yes because they're frustrated with the immigration crisis that Smith created with her Alberta is Calling campaign. I think technically Jason Kenney was the Alberta is Calling campaign, wasn't he? She continued it. Darren, thanks for your YouTube channel membership, says that's the whole thing, though, isn't it? This government scapegoats and picks on those that are least able to fight back. It becomes, or it blames our problems, rather, on immigrants, trans people, the disabled, and attacks them. Marie's letting us know, checking in from rural Alberta, that she flies both flags at the gate to her property, the Alberta flag, the Canada flag. We are going to be talking to Corb Lund here in just a few minutes. Sure. And I'm curious, I know that obviously the two of you with Shannon talked about his predicament in your most recent episode. And he's sitting just off camera here, which is awesome because I'm now asking you to give Corb some advice before he gives us the take from behind the scenes, gives us the scoop exclusively. But in particular, I think you've got some very pointed advice for Corb.
Yeah, I think Corb has to go on the Corb got fucked tour because this is this is where we are. He got absolutely screwed by Elections Alberta, who put out a number of missives saying that this is, your data may have been shared. Don't answer the telephone from unknown numbers. Don't respond with your information. Don't give everybody, don't admit these things on the telephone to people who are maybe calling. And then they followed the exact same process to verify these names, and they after just telling the audience, don't do this, they said, well, yeah, except for us. And then they didn't follow their own rules, and they fucked over Corb, and they fucked over the Water Not Coal petition because they didn't have the capacity to move just a little bit to the right or to the left, or how to figure out a pathway that wouldn't absolutely make them look like fools. And Elections Alberta have come out looking like fools on this, and they have screwed over the Water Not Coal petition, and Danielle Smith is just sitting there in the corner going, oh, thank the gods. I don't think that Elections Alberta did it because of Danielle Smith. I think that Elections Alberta did it because they're incompetent.
It's been a scathing indictment of Elections Alberta from you for like the last 15
They're
minutes.
Overextended. They're overwhelmed. They're planning the largest election in Canadian history, not even Alberta history, with the amount of ballots that they're. This is.
But that's not going to provide comfort nor solace to anyone, Zain. So what's the average person to think here? Like,
we're screwed.
Prepare
for
what
the average person.
No. I'm like, I hate to sound alarmist. I hate to sound conspiratorial, but
we will.
But the pathway to fuckery here is being paved, right? Like, how is a group that barely is able to staff for a general election now trying to ask for a factor greater for workers, have significantly more ballots, deal with lineup situations, deal with results. Like, this is going to sound conspiratorial, but tell me, Carter, is this crazy? Where we end up in an election night situation in October where smaller areas are counted first, so we have a separatist mirage that shows up, and then separatists declare victory, and then guess what? Have we seen that fucking movie before from the United States? Like, that's kind of where my head's at, right? If I work backwards, right? Where it's like, we know the Canada side is doing better than it has historically, that more people are joining. If this episode and others are a call to action for people to do so, we're hopefully in a good position. But on election night, that could look very different, be perceived very differently when there's long lineups in Calgary and Edmonton, and those don't get counted, but rural lineups get counted. And like, what does that look like? How are they reporting? All these things is what I'm thinking about. This is an overextended group, Elections Alberta, right now. And
no
I think
one could argue.
No one's, and it's being shown. It won't be, right now rather than just in October. For Corb, it's a storytelling exercise. There has to be a story told right now. And I agree with Carter. The We Got Fucked tour or some equivalent is important because there is a 3-second version of this story that needs to be digestible by the public, because it cannot remain out there that this was incompetence and a poor campaign on the Water Not Cool side, because that's not what this was.
That's not what it was. It was a great campaign. It achieved what it needed to achieve, and then Elections Alberta fucked it up. Period.
In a resource-driven province, an environmental cause got won. That is the story. And Corb's got two audiences here. General public, they need a 3-second story of we got screwed, and people just they don't need to know how they got screwed. They need to know they got screwed. That the fix was in, who the enemy is there, etc., can vary depending on the audience, but the general public needs to know that. The more important audience, I would say, for him is his campaigners. Is those thousands of people that spent thousands of hours standing, sitting, collecting, soliciting, canvassing. They need to know that what they did was not in vain. They need to know that what they did actually did succeed, and they need to have even more juice in the tank for round 2, because this incident, this incompetence, this fix, whatever that might look like, whatever word you want to use, right? That shows that we're real, that shows that we're viable, and that shows that we're a threat against these massive corporate resources, against a government, and potentially against the incompetence of Elections Alberta. And these people need to know from Corb, from the campaign, that what they did was not just not in vain. What they did was definitely something that rubs against the grain and shows who Albertans truly are. And I think there's a story there to be told that he needs to tell if he has not already to that group.
Amazing to have you guys here. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks for coming to Calgary.
Oh, love coming to Calgary. We're going to do this every year, if not more frequently.
Because you think that Calgary's nicer than Edmonton?
No, I don't think
I
that.
think so.
I spent the first 25 years of my life here. I'm from here. Are you questioning my character? Is that what you're doing, Carter?
I got you a donut, a plain donut.
You know where that donut's going to go? It's not
right into your.
Let's be honest. I'm eating the donut as soon as I can. Ken has just thrown $5 into our super chat to let us know that he just gave another 50 to Alberta's Voice. He says, "Keep up the good work, Stephen. Vote Remain and no to the 9," and then a bunch of Canadian flags. That from super chat. Ken, we've been hearing from Stephen Carter and Zain Velji in one of our feature interviews presented by Mercedes-Benz Edmonton West.
That's good.
If you're one of the few that doesn't yet subscribe to their podcast, The Strategists, make sure you do so. And do you have any upcoming live events or anything you want to promote while you're here? Anything coming?
I mean, we don't
You're hanging
do
tight.
the money thing. Fly Flair Airlines, get nowhere fast.
I believe that with Corey Hogan gone, now I'm supposed to say, no, that was always you.
That was
not a sponsor.
That was him, but yes,
You're going to get sued.
Not a sponsor.
However, if you are flying through, and this is how I gently dismiss you guys. Thanks very much. If you will be, see, this is now the time to say goodbye. If you are going to be flying through, Carter, Edmonton International Airport, that is YEG anytime soon, I really need you to know about YEG Plus.
Oh my God, it's so great.
It is. It's, in fact, Canada's first airport loyalty rewards program.
And I love it.
Now you go, well, where can I learn more?
I need to learn more.
Well, Carter, the good news is you can sign up in 10 seconds.
Only
by
10
visiting
seconds.
YEGplus.com/realtalk.
Oh my God,
Yes.
that's such a great URL.
Isn't it good? And it's very memorable. Okay, now you got to get the fuck out of here.
Okay, bye.
Okay. I'm just wondering, how's YEG going to feel about me dropping an F-bomb in the middle of their mention?
You're getting more money.
Johnny may need to pull that out of the podcast.
More money, baby.
Love you guys. See you later. Friends, if you're going to be flying through YEG anytime soon. Why not get rewarded? As mentioned, for every dollar you spend at Edmonton International Airport, you earn a point. The more points you earn, the more benefits you have. It couldn't be more simple. Again, the next time you fly through YEG, get rewarded at yegplus.com/realtalk. You know, everybody wins in Alberta with Play Alberta, and that is because from exclusive giveaways to keeping all revenue in the province, Alberta is winning. What better place to celebrate that than right here at the greatest outdoor show on earth? As the exclusive betting partner of the Calgary Stampede, Play Alberta has plenty of fun surprises in store. Keep an eye out for their activation team. If you're out and about at the Stampede for your chance to win, you can visit playalberta.ca/realtalk to learn more. That's playalberta.ca/realtalk. You've got to be 18 or over to play, and if you gamble, please use your game sense. Our friends at North Road Investment Council reminding you that you could be paying double for your financial planning. A lot of people don't realize this about the financial industry. You can be working with a planner, feel like everything's covered, but then behind the scenes, the actual investment management is being outsourced to a separate firm. That's not always obvious, but over time that can really add up, not in a good way. And that's where North Road Investment Council does things differently. They bring financial planning and investment counsel together under one roof. Everything is coordinated, transparent, and designed to work as one integrated plan. So whether you're looking for a second opinion or a full financial roadmap, don't overcomplicate it, don't overpay for it. Get the advice you need from North Road Investment Council. You can learn more online at northroadic.com. And before we get to Corb Lund, I want to let you know that our friends at Friesen Brothers are officially stocked with BC fruits. They are back on the shelves for the summer season. Friesen Brothers is all about prioritizing Canadian growers, farmers, and local businesses. It is a short season, though. For some of these fruits, you've got like 6 or 8 weeks to grab them. If you're in Calgary, your closest Friesen Brothers store is Drumheller or Sundre. For now, this summer at Friesen Brothers across the province, you'll be able to find BC cherries, BC blueberries, plus peaches, nectarines, and apricots coming soon, all from BC. This is all part of Friesen Brothers' commitment to Alberta, commitment to Western Canada, and commitment to getting fruit as locally as it can. That is Friesen Brothers online at friesen.com. That's FRESON.com. As we officially welcome to our beautiful Calgary studio, this is the Real Talk road trip from the National Music Centre, a much celebrated and very well-known Canadian singer, songwriter, and of course, the driving force behind the Water Not Coal movement over the past number of months. It's nice to see you again, Corb Lund.
How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Kind of an unusual situation for you, I guess, just to be sitting 20 feet off camera and listen to two strategists say exactly
criticize my campaign.
What you need to do. I think they were praising your campaign,
I'm just kidding.
But do you need to go on the We Got Fucked tour?
Probably, yeah. I mean, I'm a pretty measured guy, and I was taught to respect government and stuff. But yeah, we got screwed pretty hard on this deal by Elections Alberta processes, in my opinion. You know, the first thing I'll do after acknowledging Stephen's advice is that I'll acknowledge Zain's in complimenting and acknowledging the work that our volunteers did, because we had thousands of them out there. A lot of them were older people, retired people, and you know the time period of our campaign was in the spring, and they were out there in the snow and the sleet and the rain collecting signatures for 4 months, and they put their lives on hold. And my team as well, like I haven't had any sleep for weeks, and neither has my team. And when we've put our lives on hold for this thing, and especially the volunteers. And we'll get into some number stuff in a minute, but even the final number that Elections Alberta verified, which is 172,000, and the threshold to trigger the action on the part of the government is 178. Petition or no petition, 172,000 people got off the couch, found a canvasser, and signed up to this thing to stop coal mining in the Rockies, to not screw up our water and our ranch land. That's I did the math. I think it's 9.75% of almost 10% of the last election turnout. So that's no longer, you know, Corb and his friends yelling at the clouds. That's 10% of the voting public that came out for the last election have actively got out of their house and gone and signed off on this thing. So the government has to acknowledge that, and I think that we would like to see, until this is, it's clearly an issue. So we until this is resolved, we would like to see a moratorium on all coal mining in the western or eastern slopes. That includes expansions and applications and exploration, all of it, until we resolve this, because it's clearly a pretty significant issue.
People can check out, you can just, it's easiest just to Google the Elections Alberta results, the Citizen Initiative results. You can check it out at elections.ab.ca. So it shows that the total number of signatures required were, as you know, just over 177,000. The initial signature count was 207,000 with yours. The total number of valid signatures counted, 196,000. And then the total number of verified signatures after random statistical sampling was 172,000, which left you, approximately 5,000 short.
Yeah.
Now let's get into how you got fucked.
I have lots to say on that.
Help the average person that's not like in the minutia of this understand what happened.
Okay, so I've just been absorbing all of this like a fire hose for the last 3 days, and I've been doing press. I'm understanding it more and more, because we were allowed to have a scrutiny lawyer in the count room, but she wasn't allowed to tell me anything until the process was finished. So I've been absorbing in long meetings.
She's not even allowed to tell us anything.
Right, only to me, and then I can say whatever I want. But here's the deal. So there's 2 stages to this process. The first one is validation, and that concerns itself mostly with duplicates and improperly filled out forms, mistakes, they left this blank, whatever. And first of all, I'll say that Elections Alberta was including duplicates prominently in their messaging about how we didn't make our number. We had just over 500 duplicates out of 207,000. That's 0.25%. And there were, the government canceled our petition once. As well, there were a couple of non-government coal petitions. People are also confused about signing up for the mailing list versus signing the petition. So there's a lot of confusion out there. So 500 people out of 207,000 people duplicating their signatures is not a factor. And there's no malfeasance there. That's just people being confused. So that's not a factor. And the overall loss from 207,000 down to 198, I think it was, that's about 5%. And given the complexity of the requirements for ID and the complexity of the address, you had provide proof of address to our canvassers, who did a great job. That's outstanding work on behalf of our canvassers, because a 5% error rate under those conditions is outstanding. So we don't have much of a problem with the validation part. So that's part A. Where we do have a problem is part B, which is called verification. And as the guys were saying, that's when they do a sampling of, they take a sample of the 198,000 that are left, and they do phone calls and emails to verify that your name is Ron Jesperson, you live here, you did sign the petition, correct? Yeah. And that's fair. I mean, that's a fair process. The problem is the sample size was tiny. Like every time they got a fail, we lost 550 signatures, and we had 47 fails in this process, and that accounted for 24,000 lost signatures. And we're only short by 5,000. That's about 10 or 12 people, okay? So that's a very small sample. But further to that, the bigger issue is, and there's a laundry list. My scrutineer gave me a bunch of stuff that went on in there that was not fair, in her opinion. But the big one that people can understand is, and it takes a minute, and they touched on it, but okay, set the stage. We're at a point where we're in the wake of the biggest data breach in the history of the province. Like the voter rolls were stolen or released or whatever that happened, right? And so EA to this day, Elections Alberta to this day, on their website, like Stephen said, is encouraging people and warning them not to give their information to random unverified phone calls, right? So given that, a couple days before Elections Alberta started their verification process, they did a social media blitz and put it on their own website that we are going to be calling, and there's going to be a caller ID that says Elections Alberta. And furthermore, our agent is going to give you their badge number or their ID number so you know who you talk to. Then they did all the calls, and they didn't use caller ID. So they're using a random 800 number. Furthermore, as far as we can tell, the agents didn't identify themselves with their unique ID number. The third point in this is, since Forever Canada had their thing, their process was a binary question. It's like, is your name Ryan Jesperson? Yes, it is. Do you live at 111 Main Street? Yes, I do. Did you sign? Yes, I do. They changed it to a regurgitative process where you get so again, in the wake of the biggest data breach we've had in the history of the province, in the wake of Alberta elections to this day, telling people don't give your information to random phone numbers, after telling people they're going to have a caller ID, they call people without a caller ID from a random 800 number with someone who doesn't identify as a badge number, and then they say, "What is your name?"
Right.
And you, I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. Or what's your home address? I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. That's a fail, right? So, boom, we lose 550 signatures. So within the verification process, we had 47 fails, which equated to 24,000 lost signatures, and we were only 5,000 short. So that's one of our biggest complaints. And I think most people could understand why, like I wouldn't give them my information if they...
I don't want to say this to your face, but I'm the exact person that if I don't recognize the number, I don't have the number in my phone, I screen it, I don't answer it, and my voicemail says don't leave a message because we don't monitor the voicemail. So I would be, and maybe I would feel sick if I was. What if I was one of the ones that cost you 47 signatures?
To be clear, if you don't answer the phone, that's not a fail. They skip it.
I see.
But if you answer the phone and say, "Oh, who is this? Elections Alberta. What do you want from me?" and you don't trust them and say, "No, I'm not comfortable," or tell them to get bent or hang up, that's a fail. And like I said, out of the 350, I think it was 380 calls they made. So that was the statistical sample they used, was 384 calls out of 198,000 people. And for every one of those ones that didn't properly answer, and again, it wasn't a yes/no question. It was a rando calling you from an 800 number, which didn't have a caller ID on it. After Elections Alberta saying it would have a caller ID number, and after warning people not to give information out, they ask you for your personal details. So I got a problem with that, and I think most people would. So that's one of our, and there's a bunch of stuff like that, but that's probably the most red meat one I can trot out for you.
I've been around you enough. I've interviewed you enough. Like, is it safe to say that there's an energy about you right now that you know what I mean? I guess the easy way for me to ask this is, how are you feeling? But you seem like you're frustrated, agitated, exhausted.
Yeah, I'm exhausted. This has taken such a toll on me. I
Yes.
can't describe it. And my wife and my team and probably the canvassers. And, North Back and the Grassy Mountain people, they're in the middle of a big PR blitz right now. And I always say this, like, you got to consider the source. Those guys stand to make billions of dollars off of our coal. And it's an Australian billionaire coal baron, Gina Reinhardt, behind a lot of it. They've got a bunch of lawyers making money. They got a bunch of PR people making money. On the other side, you got me. I'm losing money because I'm turning down gigs and I'm exhausted. I haven't written a song in a year. You've got the ranchers who brought me into this, not urban leftists, notably. Ranchers, generational cattle producers. They've got cattle to raise. They don't have time for this. We're here. It drives me crazy because every time I hear these people say, "Oh, they're foreign funded," or "they're radical leftists," they just can't get their head, because they're greed heads. They can't get their heads around the fact that we are just regular Albertans, and our only upside in this whole thing is keeping the water and the ranch line intact. That's all there is to it. Like, I'm losing money on this, and so are the ranchers. It's like Wilson's still out there telling me I'm funded by foreign people and the NDP, and it's like complete bullshit. I have no affiliation with any party. I'm not funded by every penny of our money came from personal donations from people, which had to be less than $4,600 as per Elections Alberta guidelines. Every penny. And I've texted him personally and saying, please don't lie. We can have difference of opinions, but you're lying about our funding. Please stop. And he said, okay, I'll retract it. And he did, sarcastically. And a couple of days ago, he's out there again saying, they must be funded by some. We are not funded by anyone. We're just Albertan citizens trying to stop this stuff. And it's like, yes, I'm frustrated because we've been screwed from start to finish on this thing. Not only the petition, but 6 years of dealing with this coal thing, this government. And again, I don't give a crap about UCP, NDP. I don't care about any of that stuff. But I will say, and Shannon mentioned on the Strategists, that I need to drop the nonpartisan bullshit. And I take her point, but it's still true. I don't care about political parties. I don't. But I will say, and she's right about this particular group of people are carpetbaggers. Like, this particular group of people that I've been meeting with for 6 years now are, in my opinion, lying and dishonest and don't give a crap about Albertans. And this is a classic story of a billionaire coming in with all of her money, throwing it around. I can't speculate on what deals have been made or haven't been made, but for some reason, this government just is hell-bent on these coal mines when clearly Albertans don't want it. So, yeah. Is that enough of a rant?
Well, man, I mean, I've got a ton of respect for you, and I've got a lot of respect for the movement here and for the volunteers. People can check out waternotcoal.ca to learn more about it. I know that we'll talk in a minute about what now, but I understand your frustration. I understand what you work so hard and something falls just short, especially when you think you had the signatures. But I know what your critics would say, and there are some in our chat right now.
Fine. I'm happy. I'm happy with the hard questions.
And some people are. One guy says, I totally understand. I'm going to lose it now because there's a ton of comments coming in right now. By the way, Ambustion, $5 into the super chat. That's their way of buying you a beer. Okay. So a cold beer from Ambustion. We can get it at the King Eddie downstairs in just a moment. Or why don't we crack? Yeah, can we get Carly? Do we have a Real Talk mug or any sort of mug that we could pour this man a whiskey? Maybe 2 mugs if you don't mind. Carly Watson doing an unbelievable job for us as our floor producer, media manager out here on our Calgary tour.
This is the tail end of my media on this, so I feel quite justified.
Yeah, good. And for people on the podcast, well, I can romance a little bit more when we're actually pouring it, but we're going to pour a good Alberta whiskey from our friends at Hanson Distillery. And Bustin says, good on you, Corb. Keep your head held high. You had a nonpartisan campaign in the middle of a ton of divide. Also goes on to say, by the way, I've been a fan since you were with the Smalls, which is awesome. And also from Pongy, $10 says, a beer for Corb from New Brunswick. Thank you for fighting for our environment. So you got a voice from New Brunswick there. Some of your critics would say that, I guess one lesson you can learn from this is that you got to collect way more signatures than you think you need. And if you didn't do that, maybe it goes to show that Albertans don't care as much. Thank you so much, Carly. Maybe Thanks. Albertans don't care as much about coal mining as you think they do, Corb.
10% of last election's voting public came out, and it's no small thing to get in your vehicle and go track down a canvasser in the winter or the spring, and that's a lot of people. 10% is no small thing, for an issue like this. So yeah, I would disagree that Albertans don't care about this.
Yeah. Are you surprised that what lessons do you take from this, or what observations do you take from it over the number of months that you put into it, the number of signatures you gleaned? Did you think it would be easier, or was it harder than you thought? By the way, I'm going to pour you this whiskey while you're talking.
From a sheerly tactical standpoint, I would never do. First, I would never do this again. Period. It's too much work. But second of all, I would never do it outside of the summer months. That's a huge factor. Because people are out at festivals and farmers markets, and it's like a huge multiplying factor to do it in nice weather. Every time the weather would warm up, we would see a huge spike in our signatures. So I would never do it again outside of summer.
There's been cheers, by the way.
Yeah,
to a hell of an effort, man. And
this is to our volunteers.
To the volunteers, the Water Not Coal petition. That's waternotcoal.ca. What do you think about that, by the way? That's the Hanson Northernized whiskey. This is the 5-year aged.
It's working.
Yeah, handcrafted with 100% Alberta rye grain. Nice.
I'd like to respond to the Premier's comments.
Yeah, well, listen, because we can roll them first, and then you can respond to them. Sound good? So Johnny does have the clip. This is Alberta Premier Danielle Smith talking about the entire process. We'll get a response from Corb Lund right after.
Well, I want to thank everyone for participating in the citizen initiative process. It does always give an opportunity for those who care passionately about an issue to share their views with the public and also share their views with government. I've had a chance to meet with Mr. Lund, and I told him that if his petition was not successful, let's work together on addressing some of the concerns that have been raised. We've already addressed them in substantive ways. We've purchased leases and freehold for over 40,000 hectares in this target area in response to the fact that people want these landscapes to stay pristine. We have also banned mountaintop removal and open pit mining on future development so that we can make sure that we don't end up with potential selenium problems like we've seen elsewhere. And we're also mandating that you have to use the best available technology when it comes to water management. And some of that includes underground mines, which is the case for the Valero project. So we know that this has been an issue for some time. We've responded to it through the various policies that we have. There may be more that we can do, but we'll continue to have that conversation.
So that's Premier Danielle Smith. Over to you.
Yeah, a couple things. The part about working with me on it is disingenuous. I tried to get a meeting with her for years, and we finally got a meeting with her May 11th, and I was very unsatisfied with the answers I got from her. I had 2 questions for her. Number one, can you commit to not screwing with our question, because we want to have it on the, if it was going to be on the referendum, we would like to have it on there verbatim, because we don't want you to remove Grassy Mountain, etc. And she wouldn't give me a clear answer on that. She said, yeah, as long as it's not a financial or a legal issue. But the whole thing is a financial and legal issue, so that's a dodge. And secondly, we asked her can we have the same, because I looked at her 9 questions on the website, and they're framed in a very particular way. And I said, can we have the same editorial control about our question as you have on your questions on the website? And she said, she looked me in the eye, and I'm paraphrasing, but she said, no, we frame them that way because we want particular outcomes, right? Which I've said this before. I didn't think you're supposed to say that part out loud. Like, I don't know if that's just hubris or if it's because she's in a bubble and has forgotten that she's actually supposed to do what people want. Like, the idea of a referendum is to take the pulse of the public, and then since you're our public employee, civic employee, do what we want. And then she even started riffing on how she would frame mine. Like, I couldn't believe she was saying this out loud. She said, well, it might have to be something like, are Albertans willing to forego millions of dollars that could be used for education or healthcare by not having coal mines? And it's like, I kind of respect her candor, I guess, but I was flabbergasted that she would say that.
But she was very clear to you that she opposes your initiative and that she supports coal mining on the Eastern Slopes.
Well, they pretend that they agree, but like Hunter and Jean got into it with me about Grassy Mountain, because Grassy Mountain's key to this whole thing, and it's very, very clear to me. It was before, it was even more clear after the meeting. They want Grassy to go in because it's the thin edge of the wedge, right? But like I got into it with Jean and Hunter about Grassy, and Smith had to actually calm us down a little bit. But the second thing I'll say is that, so the first thing about working with me is disingenuous. The second thing, she said that they've addressed all these things. She's using the same playbook as the government's been using for 6 years now. I've been in this fight longer than any of them, except Brian Jean, I guess. But like I've gone through 3 sets of ministers, 2 premiers. I know the issue better than the premier, I feel. And she was talking about what they do. The tactic is to say, oh, we've heard Albertans, we've mitigated this, we've fixed that, except for this and this and this loophole and that loophole and this mine and that other mine. So, our position is very clear. It's outlined very clearly in our petition question. We want no more new coal mining of any kind anywhere in the Eastern Slopes. We don't care if it's open pit. We don't care if it's underground. That's another thing. They've been playing games with the words, the classification of mines for 6 years too. I've heard high wall mining, open pit mining, mountaintop removal mining, strip mining, underground. We don't want any mining. It's very simple. And that's all word salad. So what they do is they say, we fixed it, but they don't really fix it, and they leave big loopholes for their Australian friends to drive trucks through. And I'll just say this. If she actually does want to talk about it, step number 1, moratorium on all new coal development until we sort this out. Number 2, I refer her to the text of our question. It's very clear what we want.
Corb Lund, our guest in studio. Mashif Sharon, $20 into the YouTube super chat, says, thank you, Corb, for being the voice for the water and the land. I know a lot of people are going to be wondering what now. Let me just ask, are you considering legal action?
Oh, yeah. We're meeting with specialists in administrative law current as we speak. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Can you tell us what they've told you at this point?
Most people seem to think we have a pretty good case for judicial review. I don't want to commit to it yet, because if we meet with our lawyers and they say, you know what, you don't have a case, then we're not going to do it. But so far, it sounds like I'm not a lawyer, but my sense of fairness, given the scenario I played out for you before about the caller ID and stuff, my sense of fairness as a regular thinking person tells me that I would like to have this before a judge in a courtroom.
We've got a ton of comments here. I feel like we got to leave some time to read from our live chat. Do you have a second before you play? There's a lot of people here that are offering encouraging words.
I'm here for you,
but you kind of have the look on your face where you look like you want to hear from the critics, because I feel like you want to engage. I know you do. So I'm just going to read through and we'll read the good and the bad.
It's easy to answer them because we're on the right side of this thing.
Yeah, Ruth says, fighting the moral fight. Alberta citizens fighting this moral fight. Our watershed matters. We got a bunch of people, by the way, in all caps that say we do care. Mark Doran, I don't know if you know him with the Polluter Pay Federation. Mark's been really passionate about remediation and advocating on behalf of landowners. Actually had a really remarkable appearance on Real Talk.
He should talk to Brett Wilson about polluter pay.
Yeah. Well, did you hear me talk to Brett Wilson about polluter pay? It was an interesting, got a little testy there. Mark says, anyway, this breaks my heart. The old goat, though, says, God gave us coal. Let's make it work. What do you say to the people that say this is like coal that's used to make steel? The steel is used for building all around the world. We need this coal. If we're not mining it in Canada, we're going to mine it somewhere else. I'm sure you've heard that a million times. What do you say to people?
Number 1, it's a sunset industry. A lot of places are starting to use non-coal-based methods to make steel. Number 2, there are existing places that have vast reserves of better metallurgical coal than we do that aren't stopping. So there's no reason for us to add our tiny amount to the mix and screw up our ranch land and our water for no reason in the sunset industry. And another thing that nobody's said this yet, and it's a sensitive issue kind of, and I'm going to frame it by, of course, I'm not talking about ethnicity and I'm not talking about any kind of prejudice. I'm talking about a foreign policy of a particular government. But what no one has said yet is, and I'm kind of sick of being portrayed as this leftist, because I'm not a leftist. I'm a pragmatic. I'm all over the place. But you want to talk about leftists. The coal, as far as I can understand, we'll have to fact check this, but based on past behavior and everything I've heard, the coal is going to communist China. So who's like, I'm a leftist? Like, it's not like, as far as I know, the Chinese Communist Party is our economic rival, and could be argued that might sometime be our military rival. That's why the coal is going to make steel, as far as I know. And so if someone wants to fact check that on me and tell me that I'm wrong, okay, I'll walk it back. But I'm pretty sure that's where the coal is going to make steel. So this whole narrative about we need steel, yeah. Do we need more nuclear submarines in communist China? I don't know.
Marie says Corb has put so much into this. She says, I'm 71 and I've been fighting this fight for as long as him, and I will still fight harder, which is cool to hear, I think. Patricia says a lot of Albertans are just busy treading water right now. Phil says Kenny should have never opened up coal mining for sale, but once he did, it's hard to turn back. We're on the hook for billions if they can't mine. I mean, that's been the argument of the government. That's been Brian Jean's argument for a long time. The contracts would be prohibitive for Alberta to try to break.
Yeah. So number one, that sounds like a UCP problem, not a me problem. Like they're the ones that made all these contracts behind closed doors without any mandate from the people of Alberta. Number two, whatever the cost is, I don't like it, but whatever the cost is, it's cheaper than the multi-billion-dollar cleanup bill that our kids are going to have. Because, you know, I've said this for 3 or 4 years now. I stake my reputation on the fact that at the end of this thing, I guarantee that the government's going to ask Wilson about it. Like the government, sorry, not the government. The industry is going to leave the cleanup to the taxpayer. That's just always how it goes. It's part of the business plan. Tell me I'm wrong about that. Like, I just know there's going to be a huge cleanup for the public at the end of this. And that's one of the things I say to my conservative friends, and a lot of conservative people are in agreement with us on this, is that if you're, I hear a lot of talk about looking out for the taxpayer. Here's a golden opportunity to save the taxpayer billions, because I guarantee that we're on the hook for this at the end of the whenever the coal runs out. They're going to restructure or go back to Australia or go bankrupt, whatever. But we are going to end up with a bill. So.
Cheese checking in says our sacred mountains are not about money, politics, or anything else. They are our churches. They hold us accountable. And like the treaties, they're older than any settlements. There's a ton of people, by the way, Corb, just sending. I mean, I could just read 100 comments in a row. People saying thanks for fighting for us, thanks for fighting for the land. Did you want to respond to that one in particular?
Well, we live in a sick society, and these people are greedheads. Like, I mean, it's obvious to anyone with a soul that, and there's an economic argument too, but anyone who's been up in that area understands that we shouldn't screw up the water and the fish and the wildlife and the ranch land for short-term gain for an Australian billionaire to send the coal overseas to make steel for somebody else. Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
Linda says elections Alberta is seriously underfunded and has been disrespected in committee to a level, Linda says, that I could not believe. She also says, by the way, how is Alberta whiskey going to find clean Alberta water? I mean, and the grain and everything else. But this is the thing, too, is like what I think is a compelling point, and I know you make it, and I know you need to keep making it, and sometimes that's an exhausting part of activism or influencing public opinion, is and also you and I are different walks of life. You're at a different level of the public knows you, but being smeared is what it feels like, or being misportrayed as championing or representing or fighting for a particular political perspective when that's not your political perspective is really frustrating. But I do think it's a compelling point that people need to continue to remember, is that these aren't all conservatives that you're working with. But if you look at the voting history of the communities and these ranchers and where they're from, I heard you say early in this interview, not urban leftists. But I do think it's a really important and compelling point, is that these are Alberta families, a lot of these families, multi-generational ranchers and farmers that see firsthand the threat to the watershed and are fighting hard for this. And then you've got I think it was, I can't remember the name of who it was in the live chat, but somebody said, listen, basically telling you to beat it, says the people of Crow's Nest Pass, people in that area voted for this mine, so let the mine go ahead.
Yeah, okay, that I've been talking about that issue for a couple of years now. That plebiscite they had in the Crow's Nest Pass is BS because roughly 2,000 people were allowed to vote in it. The people and only people in the Crow's Nest Pass municipality. The footprint of the, let me say this in all caps, the footprint of the mine is not in the Crow's Nest Pass municipality. It's in the neighboring MD of Ranchlands, whose county council has repeatedly unanimously voted against it and have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars fighting it in court. So the people who live in the county where the actual mine is didn't get to vote in that plebiscite. Number two, neither did the 200,000 people downstream who use the water. So that's bullshit. That's smoke and mirrors. That was engineered to be a propaganda piece. And what I will say about the ag part is that, yes, my family's been in Alberta for 6 generations doing agricultural work. And I sing about it. I don't do it anymore, but I'm very familiar. And Lethbridge is downstream from the Grassy Mountain mine. And we have a multi-billion-dollar food processing industry. We also have many irrigating farmers who use the water out of that Old Man River. And, people think it's bullshit, but there are examples in California where hogs couldn't go to market who were downstream from a coal mine because of elevated selenium levels. There was an incident in the early 2000s where Asia wouldn't buy some of our pulse crops because of elevated selenium from legacy mines and that kind of thing. Also, Montana groups are suing British Columbia because they've contaminated their lakes and waters hundreds of miles downstream. So it's not pie in the sky. If they put a and another thing is they keep saying that Grassy is a reclamation project, which is silly because it's going to be 6 or 8 times as big as the original. If we really want to reclaim it, the taxpayer at this point should just pay for it. It'd be way cheaper than letting these guys go in and open a huge mine. But if they do open a big mine at Grassy, number one, that's the first thin edge of the wedge. There'll be another one and another one and another one. But the big thing is that if they do serious coal mining in Grassy, that water will eventually become contaminated. There's proof of it. It's happened all over the place. And we have a $5 billion, I misspoke. We have a multi-billion-dollar food processing industry a couple hundred miles downstream in Lethbridge that uses that water, and we can't even afford rumors of contaminated water because, McCain will just go elsewhere. So will Cavendish, whatever. It's crazy. The economics of this are bananas. Somebody's in on it. This is a crooked deal from start to finish.
Les has kicked $10 in our super chat. He says Corb should take this to court and try to get a hard count as opposed to a sample count. He says elections are won or lost by hand counts. He says, isn't this ironic? The Premier's always talking about democracy. Is that something that you've considered?
It's not about the count. It's about the verification, right? So whether or not Elections Alberta has the resources to call 192,000 people, I don't know. I'll have to talk to lawyers about that. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe if it's important enough.
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Sure does feel important, though.
I mean, I think, again, I'm not an expert in this area. I'm doing what my lawyers tell me. But sample sizes and extrapolation is not an uncommon practice for this kind of thing. The problem is a tiny little sample size extrapolated. Like I said, 47 fails cost us 24,000 votes, and we only were short by 5,000, right? So that means the math works. If like 8 or 10 or 12 of those people were improperly failed, we would have passed the petition threshold. So it's
Noob kicking up $10 in the super chat. By the way, we're going to donate all this, but I'm not going to keep all the money for doing the Corb Lund interview. But Noob says, keep it up, Corb. He says, I signed, and he says, and I'm pissed. Seems like the Premier didn't give a shit about Forever Canadian until she needed it. Says this is the same thing. He says talk without action is shit. It doesn't matter what she says, it's what she does.
Well, it's notable that so far on the October referendum, there's not a single question on there that came directly from a citizens initiative. The 9 questions are her or whoever came up with those. It wasn't the public, and the 10th one is some kind of weird mishmash between the Separatists and Thomas's campaign. Neither of who are happy with it. So the thing that bothers me is we seem to live in an age where honor doesn't matter anymore and your word doesn't matter anymore, and there's just no one has any shame, right? Like I research the shit out of this stuff because when I say something publicly, I want to be able to back it up and I want it to be honest and true. And these politicians, I wasn't naive before. Maybe I was, but I was a cynic before. But my Lord, these people, I don't know if it's all politicians, but I will tell you that the group that I've been dealing with for 6 years are just absolutely shameless. and they just say what they just I don't want to get sued, so in my opinion, they just lie. They just say whatever they got to say, and it's just like some kind of game to them. And the Rockies and the water up there and the livelihoods of the ranchers and just the soul of the province itself, like a lot of people really value that area, and it belongs to Albertans. Go home.
We've got just an Edmonton dude in our chat says that I don't read anything negative. I'm just reading the sunshine. I think I've been presenting the opposition that you've encountered and the counter arguments.
Well, hit me with the jobs one.
Well, take it on.
Yeah, I hear that all the time. We need jobs. Of course we need jobs. We're all adults here. Of course people need jobs. But I've been saying for years, jobs is not a magic wand that you wave that just mitigates all the effects, the negative effects. And this particular project in Grassy, in Crowsnest Pass, is going to offer a few hundred jobs. Meanwhile, that industry is automating the shit out of things. And they actually brag to their shareholders how much they're embracing automation. So good luck keeping most of those jobs. But say it is a few hundred jobs, that has to be weighed against tourism and especially ag and the impact it's going to have on those industries, right? It's just not the job thing is, and of course I
wonder how many jobs the supporters or the proponents of coal mining, I wonder how many jobs they think were lost or put on hold with like a 9-month renewables moratorium. I wonder how many jobs that impacted to shut down every new solar development, every new wind development in the province for 9 months. How many jobs do they think that cost?
Jobs is a very old stick that has been used selectively by politicians since the dawn of time to promote their agendas. You're right. Like if it's not convenient, they don't use it, right? So, but like, I would even say to these people in the past who want these jobs, I wouldn't trust these people. The coal industry is notorious for screwing over its workers. How many country and folk songs have been written about maltreatment of workers by the coal industry? Hundreds, right? And like, I don't know if they think, I'm sure there'll be some jobs, but you're going to get screwed over too by these people. They're a ruthless corporation. No matter how many lunches they buy for schools, no matter how nice a guy Mike Yang is, and he seems like a nice enough guy, the CEO of Northback, but that's why he has that job, is because he's a nice guy and he can convince people. Immediately behind that guy is a ruthless corporation run by a billionaire who all they care about is getting the coal out of the ground and then leaving home for Australia when the coal's gone, leaving us with the bill. It's like, take out all the emotions. This is a corporation that I don't even really blame the coal companies that much. I kind of do, but I blame the government. It's up to our government to stop them. Like coal companies are going to coal company. That's what they do. They're ruthless motherfuckers. But like it's up to the government to stop them. And our government is not stopping them. Our government is enabling them. And it's actually, I spent a lot of time thinking about the motivation of the government because it's clear from the polling and that this is not a winner. This is not a political winner. Like there's a lot of conservative people that I've talked to a ton of them who don't agree with this, and they're hemorrhaging political capital over this issue, I think. And I've talked to insiders who agree with me. So the big question is why? Like, is it blind ideology? Is it some kind of what would you call it? Enticement? I don't know. But I don't understand. Follow the money, I guess. But I'm starting to sound exasperated. I am exasperated.
Well, I don't blame you. And I appreciate you talking about it. Like, it's probably, I know, and the advocacy must continue. And I know you're like, we should let people know, like, you came here, I think, pretty much right from the airport. You just flew in from Denver. You're on tour right now.
Yeah, I left my hat on the plane. That's why I'm not wearing a hat.
Oh no! I saw Shelby was asking about my hat. He said he goes, I bet Corb probably knows a lot about this. Is at MHT. I know. I don't want to say it out loud. I know MHT is Master Hatters of Texas, I think, but Beaver hat had for a long time. What's your favorite hat? Do you have a favorite hat?
Well, I mean, I'm pretty loyal to Smith Belt.
Yeah,
that's our homeboys, right?
Got to get a Smith Belt hat.
Yeah, you should. They're good people.
100%. I need one.
They're 106 years old this year, I think.
Are they really?
Yeah, 1919.
Legendary business.
Yeah, I'm friends with the guys in Texas. There's a company called American Hat that makes a lot of hats too. But they're friends of mine. But Smith Belts. That's my people.
I got to get one. I'll tell them that Corb Lund sent me and see if I get some maybe kind of the inside track limited edition, something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Get the 100X.
Yeah. Tony with $5 in the super chat says, I'm feeling so sad that we're always having to fight for what is right. She says, Corb, you're a bright light in this tunnel of fucking darkness. She says, you're good trouble. Tracy says, job creation is dead for the most part, but used daily to try to persuade people that an initiative is necessary. Alberta Girl is watching our live stream presented by California Closets on YouTube, says the jobs in that entire watershed are being terminated or impacted for a handful of coal miners and people in the Crow's Nest Pass. So counterpoint.
Yeah. You know, there's lots of reasons this is a bad idea. Economics don't make sense. It's a horrific idea for the fish and the environment and all that stuff. But, you know, even if putting those things aside, if it's true that, like the polling says over and over, that 70-80% of people don't want these mines, the government should just shut up and do it. Even if it's for whimsical reasons, they work for us. They are our employees. They just forget this, I think. But they work for us. They don't work for the Australian coal companies. They work for us. And if we don't want the coal mines, shut the hell up and do it. Do our bidding. You are our employees. It's infuriating, these people. I think they start to get a sense of power, and I've seen it in person. Like they just, like, it's dismissive, and like Grant Hunter was talking to me and Laura, the rancher lady, like we were 7th grade students. He was super condescending and telling me that I was lying to everyone and telling me that I didn't know my facts. And I don't know. I don't think he's that smart. And like, I just, these people, yeah. I think you take my point.
All right. Point taken. People can go to waternotcoal.ca. You're still collecting donations, I'm imagining, to help fund your advocacy, help cover your legal costs.
Yeah, that's right.
The whole thing.
And I will say, too, that I don't know if the government thinks that if they keep... We've dealt with so many roadblocks and so many rug pulls and so many rule changes. And if they think that, I think they think that's going to make us go away. But we're so pissed off at this point that it just makes us dig our heels in. We're not going anywhere on this. And we will be around long after the premier is here and long after these ministers are here. Like, we're in this for the long haul because we care. I'm thinking about what 2 generations from now will think, you know, like I'm not, and these politicians don't have the moral authority to do this stuff. The families that live on that land and even, you know, the First Nations people before that, and they mostly agree with us too, that we have much more moral authority than these politicians do, and certainly more authority than an Australian billionaire coal baron. So we're not going away.
Calgary's mayor is in the chat right now. Jeremy Farkas says that you're his spirit animal.
Okay.
I hope that helps fuel your advocacy,
sure,
fuel your efforts. A lot of love for you. You can see this ticking and ticking. There's hundreds of people making comments to you right now.
Yeah.
I hope it fills your bucket a little bit, man.
Yeah, no, it's
you know, it's like we need to see good people with influence and profile, I think, that are fighting for the right side of an issue, to not walk out feeling exhausted and demoralized.
Yeah, I understand that my tone today is exhausted and exasperated, but don't mistake that for a lack of resolve. Like, we're not going anywhere.
I don't think anybody is. And
I appreciate all the support. Yep. And especially for the third time, our volunteers are rock stars. Thank you, folks.
Yeah. That's waternotcoal.ca. This is a hard transition. We're going to give you a couple of minutes to take a breath and get situated. Jason has been working with us here. Jason at the National Music Center just does an unbelievable job. And I don't know how much he told you about this guitar you're about to play. My understanding is that this is one of Anne Murray's old guitars.
Yeah, I'm going to do a very Canadian thing. I'm going to play an Ian Tyson song on a Anne Murray guitar at the National Music Center in Calgary.
That is about the coolest thing that we're going to do all week. So Corb will give you a second. More from Corb Lund in just a minute. First, talking about renewables, talking about solar and green energy in Alberta and across Western Canada. This conversation is happening with support from our friends at Kubi Renewable Energy. This is Western Canada's busiest, and if you ask me, best solar installer with integrated renewable solutions. You can get a free solar quote anytime by checking out kubi.ca. That's KUBY.ca. They're powering communities with clean, efficient solar energy tailored to your needs. So whether you're on a farm or a ranch, maybe you're off the grid with a family cabin that you need to get powered. It could be your residence right smack dab in the middle of the city, or even a commercial warehouse. Kubi does it all. Learn more about the process by checking out kubi.ca/solar. That's kubi.ca/solar. You know, the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 955, proudly represents about 12,000 hardworking Albertans in diverse sectors of the economy, from oil and gas construction to maintenance to crane and heavy equipment operation, renewable energy, healthcare, education, municipalities, and much more. This union kind of does it all, and IUOE 955 is a real union that puts labor and workers' interests first. If you want to learn more, you can join them at their annual free family fun day. It's in Edmonton later this month on July 18th at 17603 114 Avenue. You can learn more on their website. Runs from 11 to 3. Food, games, equipment, simulators. Plus, they'll have Hunter there from the Oilers, Punter from the Elks, joining the party at noon. You can learn more about the benefits of Local 955. That's IUOE 955 by checking out joinustoday.ca. You know, we're so proud to partner with Park Power. They power our live chat every single episode. You can find Park Power online, your friendly local utilities provider, at parkpower.ca/realtalk. That's where you can compare rates on electricity, natural gas, and internet. You can view their plans, decide what's best for you. Two things I love in particular about Park Power. Number one, there's no cancellation fees. There's no commitments. That's how confident they are that you'll be happy with what you get. And number two, they share 10% of their electricity profits with local Alberta nonprofits, with local Alberta charities. You can support a charity of your choice just by signing up with Park Power. Read more about exclusive bundling benefits. Again, that's parkpower.ca/realtalk. Park Power, a proudly Alberta-based business that's electricity, natural gas, and internet. And before we get to Corb Lund in an exclusive performance here on our Real Talk road trip from the National Music Centre, we want to remind you about what's happening in Alberta's capital right now with UCAN Youth Services. A critical funding gap is putting trusted support for vulnerable youth at risk. These are young adults, 12 to 17 years of age. Many of them are being supported out of very difficult situations. We're talking about youth navigating violence, trauma, exploitation, gang involvement, more than 30,000 outreach engagements, 400 crisis interventions every year, but the funding has changed. That means that this program is at risk. If you have it in your heart, if you're able, if you and your family is making decisions today on your philanthropy, on your charitable giving, please, from the bottom of our heart, consider UCAN Youth Services. You can find them online anytime at ucan.ca. It is now my pleasure to present from the National Music Centre in downtown Calgary, playing Anne-Marie's guitar. Here is Corb Lund.
It's always good to be here during Stampede. My family's got a long history with Stampede. My grandfather was a rodeo judge here for 25 years, and my mom won the barrel racing in 59, and my dad competed, and I competed, and my cousins and uncles all competed, so it's good to be here. And this is one of my favorite rodeo songs by my old buddy Ian Tyson. There's a young man that I know. He just turned 21. Comes from down in southern Colorado. He's just tired of the service. He's looking for his fun someday soon. Going with him someday soon. My parents, they don't like him 'cause he works the rodeo. Mama says that he will leave me crying, but I would follow him right down the toughest road to hoe someday soon. Going with him someday soon. When it comes to call, my pa ain't got a good word to say. Oh, but I bet he was just as wild in his younger days. Blow you old blue northern, blow him back to me. He's likely riding in from California. He loves his damned old rodeo as much as he loves me. Someday soon, going with him someday soon. When it comes to call, my pa ain't got a good word to say. Oh, but I bet he was just as wild in his younger days. Blow you old blue northern, you blow him back to me. He's likely riding in from California. He loves that damned old rodeo as much as he loves me. Someday soon, going with him someday soon. Yeah, someday soon, going with him someday soon.
Corb Lund from the National Music Center in Calgary on an unforgettable episode of Real Talk. Corb, thanks for doing this. Thank you for your advocacy. Real Talkers, thank you for your incredible involvement, your enthusiasm, your passion for the issues that matter. Let us know what you think about what you heard from our guest today. Talk at ryanjesperson.com or leave a comment on YouTube, and we will be right back at it from the National Music Center 22 hours from now on the Real Talk road trip as it continues. We'll see you then.
Real Talk is hosted by Ryan Jesperson, executive producer Josh Dunford, technical producer John Hicks, general manager Katie Cook-Chivers, account coordinator Lawrence Derlego, human resources Lena Shepard, website design Mike Johnston, voiceover by me, Carrie Skelton, member emerita Julie Rohr. Real Talk is a relay project. For more, check out ryanjesperson.com.